I'm with you.
Welcome, everybody, to the Synapse Philosophy Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Haig John, Chiropractor. And we've got Dr. Alan Lichter, Dr. Bob Crystal, Carol Crystal, and we'll have other people join with us. Okay, we're on D.D. Palmer's 1910 book, The Chiropractor's Adjuster. We're on page 712. We're going to skip just a little bit here and there, but we're going probably about to 720 or somewhere around there, 718. I'm going to start off near to the bottom of the page where it says chiropractic. This is in quotations marks, so this is somebody else. Is the first science that dared to fearlessly pronounce subluxation to be the cause of all disease. The PSC now takes another measure ahead and proves there is serous circulation. Okay, end quotes. So that's from someone else. This part's from Dee. I was the first to announce that all diseases were the result of subluxated joints. About 95% because of displacement of vertebra, and the other 5% from displacement of other joints, as corns and bunions from displaced toe joints. I named chiropractic. Toe joints. I made this announcement before I developed the science, which I named chiropractic. I'm going to stop there. You see how important that section is, I've been looking for that spot for a long time, actually, in the book. And he's mentioned in other places, and I forget to write it down. But this is an important segment where he talks about 5% of the subluxations are outside of the vertebral column. What do you guys think?
Well, he says other joints besides the spinal bones can be subluxated. Yeah, he says subluxated joints cause things in other parts of the body,
Yeah.
not just in the spine. So he talks about adjusting feet to deal with corns and bunions.
Yeah. I mean, that would include elbows. He's giving the example. He
Yes,
probably helped a lot of
absolutely.
people with corns and bunions, which hurt, And I've adjusted a toe and seen that flaming red toe go to nice and pink and normal in nearly, it seemed, an instant. And were they running marathons? No, but it did help them. Am I in the toe business? No, I'm an adjusting subluxation business. Okay, 5%.
Absolutely adjusted extremities as well. I had one dramatic. A guy came in that had carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
That he was a waiter, and he said, I'm scheduled for surgery for this, and I adjusted him once. I think I adjusted the navicular, and set that down back where it belonged, and restored the carpal tunnel. Is what happens when you do that, and it went away. He says, "Oh my God!" I said, he came back in one more time. He only showed up one more time. He says, "There was a miracle.
That's
It
the
just
way it
went away."
works.
He says, "I canceled the surgery." I said, "How much was that going to cost?" He said, $14,000. I said,
Cut
"Send me
me a
the
check.
check."
Yeah. I'm glad the cat's here. So yeah, I mean, that similar scenario happened yesterday in my day before yesterday, and yesterday, and a cuboid went superior on her foot. Literally was going. The podiatrist did her exam, bringing her back to do shots of cortisone in the top of her foot or the bottom, wherever you do not want a shot of anything,
Which
right?
hurt like hell, right?
So, and I adjusted it, and it was a loud, like, whap, pop. And she got up, and it was pain. It was happening all the way up to her low back. Just from stepping wrong in the morning, getting out of bed, is what she said. So, yeah, I've been looking for this section. I'm glad we found it. I'm marking it. This is how I do my outline now. I don't have any. I ran out of Post-it notes. Okay. I'm going to go from there. It was not the science that dared to fearlessly pronounce subluxations to be the cause of all disease. Imagine, if you can, a science being fearless, pronouncing declaring, affirming, speaking, or speaking out distinctly, being daring, a science personified. He's making fun of that, really, right? I am sorry to learn that the discoverer of the serous circulation myth blames that fad on the Palmer School of Chiropractic. Now, in quotes again, the PSC now takes another measure ahead, end quotes. The measure, and this is Didi, the measure does not state whether he took dry measure, wet measure, linear measure, or printer's measure. I presume he refers to wet measure as he's measuring serum.
That's funny.
What he's saying,
It's his
is
sense
like,
of humor
hey,
there.
talk like a professional. Let's be pros in this. Talk like, you're a learned person is what he's saying. And, he's like, use your proper terms. And I think that's right.
Use your terms properly. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. You're professional now. Speak that way. And, I was saying this at New Beginnings. We have the highest tuition and the longest education of anything in the natural health field. And that's where we fit in some way. So, it's time to take our position. Alan Lichter, if you would. That was a fun one, wasn't it, Carol? So why don't you take over? We're on 713. It says Dr. Didi Palmer. Now, this is a letter to Didi Palmer. And if Alan, do you mind reading this section for us?
You want me to read that whole thing? Go with that?
I should read some of it, right?
Okay.
And this is, well, I'll give you a pre-synopsis to it. He's talking about really being a professional. Because you went here and there does not qualify you for this license, is what he says, right? And he says, you have to be educated properly for this. It's important. That's what I got from it, but that's what I think we need to share.
All right. Well, I'll start out with it, and then we'll see where we go. So we're on 713, and it's a letter to Dr. Palmer. It says, Dr. Didi Palmer, since your call, I am more interested in chiropractic than ever. I've taken an osteopathic course and one of chiropractic of 4.5 months. I would like to attend your school in Portland. I would consider it an honor and of great value to have the diploma with your name and photo on it. Do you give credit to a student for time served in another school? Yours truly, and the name is omitted. It is always a pleasure for me to meet any of the Chiro kids. When I have passed to the beyond, those who are fortunate in having a diploma with a photo of the fountainhead signed by the founder of the science and art will appreciate it as a reward of merit. The D.D. Palmer College does not allow credit for time served in any school of medicine, osteopathy, or chiropractic. With some, time is all that is served and the only proof of attendance. They may have absorbed some ideas which will have to be eradicated. Therefore, it is no standard for us to go by. The benefits and the disadvantages attained in other schools as well as our own will vary with each individual. This doctor was under an instructor who had no use for the sympathetic nervous system, the cranial nerves, or the communicating and accessory nerves. The quote sympathetic nervous system is based upon superstition, and while in vogue now, will not be in 50 years. It is unknown to the PSC and is replaced with a direct brain cell to nerve connection, unquote. Then another quote, we have said right along that the basis of sympathetic nervous system was wrong because we are taught that man has 129 ganglions, which are equivalent to 129 brains, unquote. And then a third, we've got two more quotes at least in here, I think. Yes, the next one says, when I saw there was no use for the sympathetic nervous system, I threw it out and then just had to put something better in its place. So I discovered direct mental impulse, unquote. Quote, since D.D. Palmer ceased to be the editor of the Chiropractor, which was a document he produced, its pages and its clinics do not make use of the sympathetic nervous system, the cranial nerves, nor the necessary or communicating and recurrent nerves. And those are all quotes from somebody else talking about stuff that he had apparently communicated to DT in a letter, and saying this was no longer
But
taught. And he's asking DT, saying, I want to come to you and learn from you directly.
now, so he's talking about, the student is talking about the PSC is not teaching this anymore,
Yeah.
and that's what he wants to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
Let's finish that up to the where man is measured by his mind.
And I'll keep going here, right? A,
Yeah.
a case of hemiplegia will illustrate the difference between the quote direct mental impulse unquote theory discovered by B.J. Palmer and so taught to his students, and that of the nervous system found in man by all anatomists. To reach each portion of the body affected by the hemiplegia by the quote direct method unquote would be require the adjusting of half a dozen vertebrae as given by the quote combination of functions unquote methods. This form of paralysis is the result of one impingement and not of quote a combination of functions. So he's going back and referring to the other statements that have been made here, as we were saying, the quotations. Considering the ganglionic chain of the sympathetic nervous system, the impingement is only on one nerve, one bundle of nerve fibers, which are distributed by the sympathetic ganglia. These ganglia are relays in the pathways for the transmission of impulses from the region in which they arise to the tissues in which they are distributed. Communication between the central nervous system and the sympathetic is established established through both efferent and afferent fibers. So this is all anatomy. Should I keep going with that?
No, but it's not that huge. So you're basically at the end, right?
There's another like 3 paragraphs here, but okay. Let me skim a little bit. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's talking about the cervical portion of the vertebra, column sends out 3 pairs of nerves which supply the posterior portion of the uh, cuticle, the scalp. A student of the
The summation here it says, by what deduction do I infer the above? From the fact that the patient in question had hemiplegia for 3 years and no boils, that immediately after adjusting question mark the displacing of the cervical by one who had been taught the quote direct impulse system, the boils appeared. That anatomies describe nerves leading from the cervical to the portions where the boils appeared. That boils are caused by the inflamed condition of the peripheral ends of those nerve fibers. And then he says, a man is measured by his mind.
All right. Now that's page 715, osteopathy. We're going to skip the osteopathy portion of it.
There
And
is,
my notes start again really at 725.
I've got a couple of things in here. One line just right away says, medication is
Jump
the
to it. What
treat.
page? Where?
This is 716, right in the middle of the page.
Okay.
And it says medication is the treatment of disease by medicines. Medicine is any substance given for the cure of disease. And I think that that's important for us to annotate only because there's so much being done now in chiropractic where people are giving things as vitamins and minerals and other supplements to people that they as part of their treatment in the chiropractic office. And this is any medication is the treatment of disease by medicine. So anything you're treating as a symptom by giving a substance to cure it or change it is medicine, not chiropractic.
Mm-hmm.
And
All
that's
right.
why I just think that line is an important line for us to
Yeah.
annotate. And then I have on 718, I have a lot of that marked actually.
I've got a couple of spots on here too.
After the line on the top of the page. So um, starting with man as a physical, spiritual epitome of the universe is where I'm going.
Yeah, that's exactly where I am right here. That's where
Okay.
my mark
So
is.
this is on 718. It's the third paragraph down, and he says here, man is a physical and spiritual
Well,
epitome of the universe.
I should think we should start with the beginning, right?
Start that beginning. Okay.
Of that under that line.
Do not append. Okay. So at the beginning of that 718, about a little bit down the page, it says, do not append to many appendages to you, too many appendages to your name. It does not show good taste. Oh, I got that. Yeah. Dr.
Yeah.
John Smith, DC, and John Smith, DC chiropractor. This is doubling up looks this doubling up looks egotistical. And I think somebody pointed that out to me once. You know, you say Dr. Alan Lichter, DC. It's like you're doctor at both ends. It's like you're saying the same thing twice.
Dr. Sid told us to do that. Put that on there, and doctor and your DC at the end, so they know what that means. So they know what you're doing. And I just remember that. And but it's redundant, is what it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
right?
After John Smith has been in practice or out of practice a few years, he will write his name as just plain John Smith. Man is a physical and spiritual epitome of the universe. The spiritual is the cause of action. Action is life. The physical is that through which we see effects, changes. The spiritual always did exist and always will. It is eternal. It is changeless. The physical is transient, undergoing constant change. The spiritual is positive, the physical negative. The spiritual acts upon and through the physical. Man in his physical nature embodies the elements of the material universe. The spiritual controls the individualized portion we designate as an individual. The spirit manifests itself through the physical as a conscious intelligence. In the physical, man is of the earth, earthy. The spiritual is an individualized portion of the universal intelligence, God, just as the material man is the portion of the material universe. You know, that is so important for chiropractors today to acknowledge. I just that the metaphysical portion of our profession is coming back. Let's say that. But it still needs to be people need to be reminded and brought this is right here in Dee Dee's voice saying this is what we're working with here.
Yeah. It's another page that needs a me to write a note to myself. And yeah.
Should I go forward then while you're
Yeah.
making your note? Through
Yeah.
the five or more senses, we take cognizance of and become acquainted with the physical world, its facts, laws, and forces. Through the spiritual, by communication, we may receive intelligence from other spirits in or out of our bodies. And we've talked about that here about being able to sense things as we're working with our practice members and being aware of things going on around us. This linking together of the spiritual and physical makes it our duty to keep the corporeal frame in proper alignment, that the spirit may manifest itself in a natural manner. It is not only our inalienable right, but our moral duty to become acquainted with the osseous and nervous makeup, that we may intelligently adjust any displaced portion of the skeletal frame so that innate, that portion of universal intelligence, usually known as spirit, may manifest itself through and take a correct knowledge of the material world. Again, powerful stuff.
He gave us the meaning of life is spirit experiencing the physical world.
Yeah.
Okay. And just threw it in the middle of a page 718. I'm just going to put this here. That was a profound moment. You realize of what we just read. It's
That,
powerful.
that's that's why I didn't want to skip that section. This is
Yeah.
so good.
Oh my goodness. This was a big day. We found a lot of things. Keep going.
Knowledge of a single fact does not make a science. To make an adjustment, as I did in my first case of Harvey Lillard 15 years ago, did not constitute a science. To know that a certain dorsal vertebrae wrenched from its normal position was the cause of deafness, that the racking of it back into its formal place would restore hearing, to know those two facts did not constitute a science. Neither did it create the art of adjusting. But so far it was so far it was specific knowledge and specific adjustment. It was the beginning of a science, not a new science, for the principles existed as far back as there were vertebrae. The basic principle of chiropractic and adjusting vertebrae for the relief of disease has been practiced over 2,000 years.
Mhm. And that's another spot we've been looking for Dee Dee talking about that.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it anyway.
And then I skip from there. I'm key mark skip all the way into something about Joy Lauren and back on the
That's exactly where it's
726. I don't know if you want to skip that
725.
far. I got to 726, but yes, so that's where I was sort of
But that,
going
yeah, I've
next.
got two spots. The doctor will pardon a fountainhead, the discoverer, developer, and founder of science of chiropractic. I think this is those that Joy M. Loban, I think, is an important one. What do you think?
Well, like I said, I
Start from the beginning of that one, page 725.
725, Joy M. Logan, PhC. In the August number of the Chiropractor is an able article by Dr. Loban. It contains much that is chiropractic and it is well expressed, but there is one paragraph which is not up to date. The doctor will pardon the fountainhead, the discoverer, the developer, the founder of the science of chiropractic for adjusting this paragraph. For the fountainhead is now the adjuster of chiropractic literature. I claim the credit for the last mentioned, as well as for the former four. These five make me a full chiropractic hand, every finger well rounded out. That's kind of cute. I like when he plays those word games. The paragraph alluded to is on page 34, reads thus, and so this is quoted then. The only way in which any agency outside of man can interfere with the transmission of currents through the nerve is by crushing, or constricting it in such a way as to break the continuity of its molecules and render it unable to transmit vibration. Only one place can be found along the path of a nerve from the brain to a cell in the body, at which such a pressure may exist. That place is at the exit of the nerve from the spinal column, for it is there and there alone that the soft nerve passes through two hard substances capable of producing a constriction, unquote. So that was Dr. Loban speaking. And then I think the next part is where Dee Dee's responding. This section is found under the headline, The Completeness of the Chiropractic Philosophy, unquote. The writer of this article is not complete in his chiropractic education, although he appends to his name the degree of PhD, philosophical doctor. Dr. Loban has attempted to make use of the molecular vibration theory lately put forth by the founder of the science. He has not fully grasped the transference of impulses by molecular vibration. He says in the first line of the second paragraph on page 30, quote, the chiropractic philosophy is structurally complete, unquote. The text which Dr. Loban has furnished is not correct in its chiropractic philosophy. It contains 6 errors. I am pleased to see that he has accepted molecular vibration as the kinetic energy means used by Innate to transmit its impulses to arouse energy to functionate. It will take some thinking for Dr. Loban or anyone else to fully comprehend and apply molecular vibration to the transmitting of impulses. If I rightly judge the doctor, he is of the right makeup to do the thinking. From the first statement in the above quoted paragraph, one might infer that there were some agent inside of man, quote, the individualized intelligence or entity called ego, unquote, that might interfere with the transmission of currents as he refers to, quote, any agency outside of man, unquote. Innate, the personified part of the universal intelligence, cannot and would not, if it could, interfere with the or derange its own current of thoughts, its impulses. Innate being a personified portion of the universal intelligence, the all wise is perfect in its intelligence, faultless in each and every impulse, its energy and function. But from various causes unknown before I brought them forth, these impulses are interfered with and deranged. It will be observed that I have used the word agent for the reason that agency is the state of being in action, while the agent is one who or which has the power to act. An agent has agency. In strict philosophical usage, the prime mover or doer of an act is the agent. All agencies which derange normal action, increases or decreases functions, are from without, could not be from innate. We good there? Keep going.
Yeah.
Function is function is any specific power of action which belongs to an agent. The operator is behind the energy, which is the force of action. The definition covers vegetative and cumulative functions. The action itself is a function performed. The process of digestion, the changing of food so that it can be assimilated, assimilation, the alteration of digested food into fluids and tissue, absorption, promoting the growth from nutrition, replenishment, replenishing waste material, excretion, the method of getting rid of waste material. These are vegetative functions. Innervation furnishes vital force to energy. Fermentation, decomposition, and terrotism are vegetative functions performed either in too great or too little degree. Teratology is the science of abnormal growths, vegetative functions abnormally performed. Physiology treats of functions performed normally. Pathology of functions performed in an unusual manner. The performance of functions in satisfactory manner is health. All agents which cause increase or decrease of functioning, paren, disease, close paren, are from without, could not be from innate within. Function is any specific power of action which belongs to or is caused by an agent. The operator is behind the power. Vitality, which that which accomplishes vegetative function. Vitality and intellectuality run the vegetative and cumulative functions. And this is in bold. As vegetative function may produce terrorism, so that the cumulative may accumulate intellectual monstrous conceptions. That's the end of the bold. The transmission of energy from innate to the physical and mental, if not interfered with by the outside agent, will result in vegetative and cumulative functions being performed in a normal manner. Quote, reader, quote, render it, the nerve, unable to transmit vibration, unquote. The most of diseases are because of too much vibration, creating too much action. For further explanations, see other articles on molecular vibration, too much or not enough functionating. That's a mouthful right there.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
But he's saying innate is not going to cause any problems. Innate is always working and making things right. It's interference with the transmission of information from innate to educated to the physical body that's an outside agent that's making it change and causes the dysfunctions that then create and either too much or too little information that's being transmitted by innate is from innate to the physical body is where the disease and other physical issues come from. That's what I got from that.
Yeah,
Is that
agreed.
an accurate summary for you? Is that
It's
right?
quite accurate for me. quite accurate. I've
It's
got all these pages marked
reading
up.
it. Sometimes it's hard to grasp it all as you're reading it because he's going back and forth. But that's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
Innate's never going to make it wrong. Innate's never going to cause the problem. It's an interference with information from innate to the physical realm that is where the issues occur.
Universal forces,
Yes.
right? You
Yes.
going to say something, Barry? Go ahead.
Yeah, Didi was really big on impingement, not not pressure, and then too much or too little. It was good to hear him say the dorsal vertebrae on Harvey, and then it was very good to see him being appreciative and humbling to talk about the science and art was formed 2,000 years before, 1895. The other thing that stood out to me is I had to look at this a handful of times. Joy M. Loban, it's Loban, Loban,
Yeah.
and he wrote, or his wife Molly, his fifth wife, wrote Loben, Loben. Joy was one of the students, star students of BJ, who left in 1908 when X-ray was introduced. There was a big disruption on campus that he was a mixer because he was using X-ray, and so Joy left and started Universal Chiropractic College, and then it went on to be Pennsylvania Chiropractic College. And so it's interesting to hear Didi here, because I have not read this. If I did, I forgot about it. For him to really tear apart Joy M. Loban. And it's interesting that he misspells his name constantly, or Molly, his fifth wife, did.
That's really interesting history because that school that was, they were called the H traits, right? And so that's a really good bit of history right there, going all the way back to Didi. I didn't realize that school went back to Didi. Did it become Columbia? No, that wasn't the school that became Columbia in New York, where Reggie and Pasquale were. Okay,
Nope, different. Many
different.
decades later, but it happened to be in Pennsylvania.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I've got a lot of notes and annotations the next couple of dozen pages. Do you guys want to stop there or do you want to keep going?
Well, do you want to finish the piece by Loban, the next 2 pages?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Dr. Loban states that the only ways in which molecular vibration can be interfered with is by, quote, cutting, crushing, or constricting, unquote. This ignores poisons and impingements, the causes of the larger share of diseases. Some poisons irritate, excite molecular action, wave vibration in excess, more than normal. Others are sedative, producing sedation, an under amount of molecular vibration, a reduction of vital power. A poison, therefore, is a substance which, when introduced into the body, augments or lessens the functioning of one or more of its organs. Impingement on nerves, pressure brought to bear against tubular cords filled with fibers, the functions of which are to convey impulses and sensations to and from the brain, excites or retards molecular action, wave vibration. Any condition which will, quote, break the continuity of its molecules and render it unable to transmit vibration, unquote. Whenever the connection is broken between the atomic particles of the nerve fibers, they are unable to transmit impulses by the aid of vibration. No vibration, no function. No function, no disease. No action, no life. This first sentence of Dr. Loban's is not expressed chiropractically. Quote, only one place can be found along the path of nerve from the brain to the cell of in the body, to a cell in the body, at which any a pressure may exist. Unquote. The developer of chiropractic has discovered that any displaced bone may press against, impinge upon a sensitive nerve, thereby causing, exciting, or depleting its conveyed capacity. This pressure does not, quote, break the continuity of its molecules and render it unable to transmit vibration, unquote, or impulses. It only modifies the transmitted force. Quote, the place of pressure is at the exit of the nerve from the spinal column, for it is there and there alone that the soft nerve passes between two hard substances capable of producing a constriction, unquote. And then Didi comes back and says, compression between two hard substances will not constrict, will not produce a constriction. Tubes or conducts uh, can only be constricted. Solid cylinders cannot be drawn together, made smaller. It is the channel or the opening which may be closed by the ring-like pressure as of a ligature, or some change in its walls by inflammation or cicatrix. Pray tell me, where do the first and second cervical nerves become, quote, constricted, unquote, because of pressure between two hard substances, or those nerves which produce corns and bunions because of inflammation? The developer and adjuster of chiropractic would correct the discussed paragraph as follows. The only agents which can modify the transmission of impulses are, are cutting, crushing, impingement, and autosuggestion and poisons. About cutting and crushing, there is no chance for argument. But how and where nerves may be affected by impingement, suggestion, and poison is a much discussed question among chiropractors. Impulses are transmitted by molecular vibration. Nerves may be severed or crushed anywhere, impinged wherever there is displaced bone, constricted never. Dr. Ross declared at the session of the 11th Annual Conference of the American Hospital Association, October 2nd, at Washington, D.C., that 15 years ago, the annual cost of medicines for each patient in the Massachusetts General Hospital was about $2.90, while last year it was only 91 cents. Think about that. Go to a hospital for $2.
That's your medical bill. 91. That's their average annual cost of medication. I have that written on the side over here. Cost 91 hospital 91 cents.
Quote, it's difficult to predict what the future of medicine in hospitals is going to be, unquote, said Dr. Ross. Quote, undoubtedly drugs will continue to be used, but other agencies or some agency still unknown to us will have a place.
I think you put that importantly, of we have a bigger to give.
Yeah, he's saying that even medical doctors are saying something else may replace medicine. That's exactly what I got out of that.
Save the babies.
Quote, do you want first or second-hand goods, unquote. If you want first-hand goods, you go to First-Hand Man. If you desire chiropractic first-handed, you go to the fountainhead, from which originated the first principle, not to any of those who were his pupils, who learned the principles from him. His graduates are not the first-hand man. To receive it from any other than the originator, the fountainhead, is to get it second-handed. I, being the originator of chiropractic, never had the degree of DC conferred on me. I was the first to put the goods on the market. All who have received the degree from me cannot do otherwise than pass it on as second-handed. Sandpaper, paint, or varnish will not make second-hand goods other than second-handed. Whenever any person states that he has chiropractic first-handed, that that he is the fountainhead, just ask to see his diploma. Require of whom he received his education. Who conferred the degree of DC on him? Who gave him his diploma? There never was one but the fountainhead of chiropractic. All others are false, self-appropriated for self-aggrandizement. My students receive instruction first-handed, direct from the fountainhead. Not one of them can ever step in his boots or wear his hat. Sheep's clothing will not change the nature of the wolf. Neither will second-handed goods become first-handed because of their being placed in a fountain. Water will not wash out deception, fraud, and chicanery. Such trickery will not satisfy the public or the avariciousness of one who is, quote, waiting just like a hungry wolf for a dinner. And that's all a big slap at we know who. And that's the
Well,
end of
I
that
mean, there's a
section.
lot of meat that we just chewed on in that whole system. There was a lot going on there.
Oh
I've
my
got a
God,
lot of
yes.
notes in my margins here. And yeah, what'd you guys get out of that? Well,
Obviously.
there was a lot happening. We are at 8:44 right now. So I just want to say, this was I'm so happy we're getting to the last part of it. I almost missed this book already. You know what I mean? Because we're going to skip around, we'll probably get to 800 in the next couple of weeks. And, this is where I'm
Well,
getting,
another 270 pages.
yeah, that's not much in the grand scheme of things. We've read 1,000, you know what I mean?
We've read three-quarters of this book.
Yeah, that's tremendous. I'm
We've
so excited about
discussed
it.
three-quarters of this book, which is even deeper than just reading the words.
Yeah. And, you guys, keep me in your thoughts and prayers. In a couple of weeks, I'm speaking at the 43rd International Space Development Conference. And, I call it spines in space, but it's really the decompressive forces of the vertebral column in zero gravity or microgravity and the effects of a subluxation coming back to gravity as well. So that's the scholarly title of this paper. And I just got a message from an MD who does a lot of work in space, and this just happened while we were just talking. And she just said, I hope the approaches that you use could be used soon for the astronauts. It's as soon as possible for the astronauts. They certainly need it. So, chiropractic is going into the cosmos, and we will be very surprised in the very near future of how commonplace I bet you this becomes, and chiropractic really leading the charge of health in travel in those type of environments, because it's necessary. And when you factor in a subluxation on the vertebral column, it's unbelievable that it's not the first thing they think of before going into microgravity or zero gravity or whatever it might be. So I'm delivering that paper. So, with the last conference call we were all on, I literally needed a degree in engineering, probably a PhD in engineering, just to read the PowerPoints. I was like, oh, geez. I'll take about 3 years to answer that question, Alex, for 800. Anyway, go ahead, Barry.
One of the common things that we do after our adjustment is we have the patients go in zero gravity chairs to set their adjustment. It's to take all the pressure off the spine. Historically, too, I've always been told this. The medical records of all the professions, of all the people in the United States, guess what medical records are the most held, the most quiet, not talked about? Not the presidents, not the senators, not the Republicans, astronauts. And what I would use, especially on this podcast, universal forces. Use universal forces. You know it inside and out. You know what they do to this matter on this earthly meat package that we're in. And I would suggest to you, you know this well, and contribute those universal forces.
One of those things I wanted to do is see through the Freedom of Information Act, if we can get this, that we would know immediately of this person that was, they were stuck in the space station. Wolf's Law, looking at the facets, the change of it's easily minutes of pre and post. It's all I need, right? So anyway, we'll see how that works. I've never written, anything due to the Freedom of Information Act. I would like to request such. So I'm going to do it. Let's see if we can get it. All right, y'all. I love and appreciate you. I will see you next week. Have a great night.
Night night.
Thank you all.